If you're a parent, one of the most valuable things you can teach your child is how to manage money. Seeing that the divorce rate is skyrocketing and the number one reason for divorces is mismanaged money and different views about money, the most important thing you can do for your kids is to give them a healthy perspective of how to handle money. After traveling the country and speaking to over 250,000 students in 39 states, I can tell you middle and high schoolers really need to learn about money. Because the world is telling them money is important and go and chase money, but we often don't give them the frameworks to really understand money correctly. In this two-part series, I'm going to walk you through how to teach your children about money so they grow up and are able to master money at a very young age and build their families with great money habits. Considering the average household is $15,000 to $20,000 in credit card debt, we need this information more now than ever. Studies show that the number one factor in how children spend money as they grow up in life is the households they grew up in. So your number one call and mission should be creating an environment so your children grow up learning the habits maybe you didn't learn, but you'd like to pass on to your children. But one major misconception is it's a lot easier to teach your kids about money if you have it. If you make a lot of money, of course it's easier to teach your kids about money because you have it. That is a huge misconception and often leads people who don't make what they consider a lot of money to the idea that there's no really sense in teaching them about money because we don't really have a lot of money. When they have a lot of money, that's when they'll need that information. That is backwards and it will really set them up to fail. If you are tight financially, you need to ask yourself one of two questions because remember, your children are always watching. The one or two questions are, do we have a saving problem and a managing problem, or do we have an earning problem? Depending on which problem you really have will dictate the actions you take. Because remember, children are watching. They are simply projectors of your thoughts, feelings, actions, and words. Because if you're on a budget and don't have a lot of money, you can teach your children how to value money. You can teach them how to make a dollar stretch a little bit further than maybe most people do. So not having money doesn't limit the amount of things you can teach your kids about money. Sometimes it gives a ripe environment to teach your kids the most important things about money. If you do have a lot of money and you've been blessed with a very, very well-built financial portfolio and you have good jobs or you own a business, then teach them how to invest well and still teach them how to value the dollar. I was listening to an interview with Warren Buffett and his son one day, and Warren Buffett, who's a multi-billionaire, one of the richest people in the world, was being interviewed with his son, and his son made a comment in the interview. He made a comment of back in the 60s, somebody traded or sold something for $1,000, and he said, this is Warren Buffett's son, back then $1,000 was a lot of money. Next to him, Warren, the grandfather of investing, says $1,000 still is a lot of money. This was just a few years ago. You have one of the richest people in the world that probably makes $1,000 every quarter of a second is saying $1,000 is still a lot of money. If you do have a lot of money, teaching your children the value that a dollar truly possesses is still of utmost importance. Whether you have it or don't, the dollar's value doesn't change, and we still need to transfer that view to our children. The very first tip about teaching your children about money is understanding more will be caught than taught. When I was in college and I was in speech class, my speech teacher told us about this word called ancillary teaching. Ancillary teaching is the idea that you teach through doing, meaning people view your behavior and assume that's the way to do it. And the reason he was telling that story is he's a teacher teaching speech. And so he's literally speaking and doing what he's teaching. So he's saying, in this class, my job is to demonstrate what should be done. In your homes, let me tell you this. Parents, please listen, underline, and everything on this part, what I'm about to say. Kids are going to do what you do. Now, will they work out your bad habits later in life and change? Some of them will. But the truth of the matter is, they will see what you do and they will mimic it thinking that's just the way you do it. That's what I did until I learned a different way. And all parents struggle through this. While there's a lot of books on parenting, we're all learning as we go. I get that. And so what I want to help us do today is learn how can we start modeling so our kids see us make some of the most important decisions about money that we can make that will help set them up for success. How you manage, spend, or don't spend, and multiply money in front of your children is what they're going to mimic. I want to read you a quote from a professor at Creighton University, Brad Klontz. He says, children primarily learn from modeling, and we all have the tendency to pick up on the behaviors of our parents. He's also the founder of the Financial Psychology Institute, so this guy really knows what he's doing, and he's done a lot of research around why we do the things we do with money. And this is what he said: money attitudes can be insidious in the sense that we may not be able to remember anything specific. So you may not look back to your childhood and remember your parents doing things, but on a subconscious level, kids are very sensitive to that, pick up on that modeling, and then eventually mimic it. See, the truth of the matter is, what you do gets projected and implanted in your children. So the number one thing you can teach them about money is to live money correctly, is to have the kind of habits you want to see them have. That means understanding how to earn money, understanding how to manage, understanding how to invest and save. It is our job as leaders of the next generation to have a good understanding about money. I can tell you, as I've spoken to a lot of students over the years and asked them questions about money, they are very, very, very lacking in their understanding about how the dollar works, how to manage it, how to invest it. What if I work at McDonald's and I'm only making 8, 9, 10, 12 bucks an hour? Can I really invest? How do I make that money work? Very little of this content is being transferred to our children. And I want to start with you as parents, because the more you do it in your homes, the more you implant it in their minds, the more they're going to implement it and the more they're going to continue to project it to their kids later on. If your kids see you living on more than you earn, guess what's probably going to happen? If your kids see you living on less than you earn, guess what's probably going to happen? One of my greatest tributes to my parents is I saw them handle money, I think, really well. They didn't handle it perfectly, just like no parent does. But I remember walking down the stairs. We had 2 sets of stairs in our house. I remember walking down the stairs, and my mom would cash their checks back in the day when we did such things and stack little piles of money, and each pile was for each bill of that month. So it would be the electric bill and the gas bill, and this is what's for food this month. And she stacked all that up to make sure that they were living below their means. My mom started off at a company making $3.18 an hour. My dad was making $7.50 as an HVAC technician, and they saved $7,000 their first year of marriage. Do that math on how much money you have to not spend to spend that kind of money. It was a major tribute to how much they taught me about money. But what I can say is what they taught me even more is they didn't allow money to ruin our home. They didn't allow the different agreements of money to really be implanted in me and my sister. And I'm telling you, for your sake, make sure you watch videos just like this all the way through the video so you have the habits that will transfer to your kids. Because you can say, well, you should eat healthy, you should eat healthy, you should eat healthy all day long. But if I'm going Doritos and ice cream, which by the way are delicious if you've never tried them, if you're going to those, it's probably going to be really hard to get our kids to eat healthy. Same with money. If live on less than you earn, don't spend all your money, and you go and you're spending as much money as you can at the casinos or spending a lot of money at the mall and you're buying all kinds of stuff that you don't really need and you don't really have the money to spend, that's what's going to transfer to your children. My grandpa used to say this: the sermon you preach with your life is a lot louder than the one you preach from the pulpit. It's the idea that kids do what we do a lot more consistently than they do what we say. You've ever heard this statement, do as I say, not as I do, right? Well, as parents, let's be honest, a lot of times we live that way, and we don't mean to. We're all imperfect. But the truth of the matter is, you want to continue to instill those habits in your own life, and then you have to say it a whole lot less. Before I go to the last part of tip 1, make sure you subscribe to our channel and join our family. Also, leave us a comment. What is the best thing your parents ever taught you about money? I want to hear from you. I want to hear from our followers to see, what did you learn about money growing up? How did that help you? Or maybe even kind of give you a hurdle to jump over later on in life. Let's get back to the video. In keeping with the idea that more is caught than taught, they're also going to mimic your contribution. The more giving you are to help people, the more they're going to mimic that. And I can tell you, the number one investment principle I could teach anybody is wealth happens on the foundation of contribution. It always does. It always will. It's just a principle nobody can philosophize their way out of. It doesn't matter what people think about it. The more people give, it's like you create a vacuum in your wealth that sucks up more money. It's just how it happens. So many people have proven it, and I can promise promise you, if you're not giving to a contribution that is important to you, for my wife and I, it's our church. When we're giving to our church and we're helping the youth program and we're building into the next generation, we feel fulfilled that God's message is going out to people. That's really important to us. For whatever it's important to you, you need to be contributing to help that. If sex trafficking is really important to your heart, to end that, as I hope it is for everybody, then giving to places like that and allowing your kids to see who you're helping is very, very, very important. Because allow contribution to run through the DNA of your family and home. It changes things. Allow kids to come in when they see when you're giving, not because you're trying to, pound your chest as you're the super parent. You want them to see, we're helping Mrs. Johnson because she doesn't have anybody to help her rake her leaves. It doesn't always have to be money, but help them see how you came to that decision. And believe me, while they'll want to stay home and play video games rather than go rake leaves, you'll make an impression you'll never understand the impact of until later. I want you to think about a glass of water for a minute. See, if I was to hit this and water came out of the glass, I would ask you, why'd water come out of the glass? You'd probably tell me, because you hit it. Leave it inside, Mike. It won't come out of the bottle, right? Let me ask you another question. Why did water and not orange juice come out of the glass? Because that's what's in it. I will tell you this. Whatever lives in your home will come from your home. So if the principles you're instilling and doing at home are going to come out in your children, especially when troubles hit, we just do what we've seen and what we've heard and what we've experienced. It's the same with a tea bag. When you put a tea bag in hot water, whatever's inside comes out. It's the same in our homes. If you really want great money habits to come out of your kids, make sure that is the world that you're creating for them to live in. The second thing you can do to really teach your children about money is to avoid negative programming statements. These are statements we say not to hurt our kids, statements we don't say to make life harder for them in the future, but these statements build negative programming in our children. We are fighting an uphill battle. A lot of people actually believe that the Bible says the root of evil is money. It doesn't. It says the love of money is the root of evil. And the truth of the matter is, we have to understand we're fighting an uphill battle. People think money is inherently bad. In fact, if you've watched most movies, the rich guys are usually the bad guys. We are programming people that the people that are wealthy are not good people. Titanic, who was the bad person? The rich guy. Notebook, who was the bad person? The rich family. It happens all over the place. They're programming a world to believe people with money are the bad people. It's not true. And we have to avoid the negative programming that is we're already fighting the programming in the world, but let's not add to it in our homes by using statements that program kids negatively. And here's a few that I hear often. I heard this one growing up. Money doesn't grow on trees. Money doesn't grow on trees. And the idea is that money isn't just easy to get. It's the fact that we got to go work for it. It's not just everywhere. Don't program your kids to think that way. In fact, I'm a multifamily real estate guy. I invest most of my capital in multifamily real estate. And people that tell me money doesn't grow on trees, I tell them have never owned multifamily real estate, because my real estate grows money every single month and I don't do anything to do that. It just grows every single month. So when people say money doesn't grow on trees, my thing is you need to plant new trees. But the idea is, let's not use the programming that makes our kids think that money's really hard to earn. If you build a really successful business or have a really good investment, money can be coming in without you working for it. So let's not program them with that very common programming error. Statements like, we can't afford that. Never use that statement. Instead, help your kids see we're not placing our money there because we value this more. The idea is we're not buying a Ferrari not because we can't afford it, because that's not important to us. We as a family value experience. We'd rather go on a vacation with our family and spend time together than buy a car that's going to sit in the garage. Or whatever the thought may be. Whatever the thing that we can't afford, we never can't afford things. Because the truth of the matter is, everybody could invest in something, go get some side hustles, get a job, and probably afford just about anything. The idea is, it's not that we can't afford it. Our resources are being placed elsewhere because we value other things. Help them see what you value, not what you can't afford. That's a negative program. Let's toss that one out. The statement, we're not made of money. We're not made of money. So a lot of times a kid will be in the store and they'll walk up to their mom, Mom, can I get this toy? And they hold up this toy that you know they're going to use 2 times and never visit again. And you're thinking, I don't want to put my money into a toy that's going to make my daughter happy for 4 minutes, and then she's going to be on to the next new, biggest, and best thing. So I don't want to put my money there. And so what I say in the store is, listen, I'm not made of money. We're not going to buy that today. And what that does is that trains them that money is lack. I don't have it. I don't have a lot of it. We're not made of it. It's the idea that I'm programming money is scarce. There's a scarcity thought in money. Let's not implant that in our children's head. Instead of, we're not made of money, say, you know what, I just don't think that would add as much value to your life as you think it will. So let's find something together over the next week or two that would really add value to your life, and then let's see how we can get the money for it. The idea is allowing your kids, first of all, to not make emotional decisions, because a lot of times they run up, ask for things in the moment because they see it, they think it's cool. And if you allow a week to go by and don't buy it that moment, they'll forget about it and move on to the next best thing. But if they revisit it next week and the week after that, you're like, okay, this is valuable to them. Now let's help them see how they can become a partner in acquiring this so they have more value of it. See, again, I'm pulling them into this discussion rather than just throwing out a blanket statement, we're not made of money. You see, the end result is so different when you enroll them in helping them get what they want versus just a statement like, we're not made of money, just to slide them aside so we don't have to deal with a fire that's going on in the middle of the toy store. Or a statement when your kids say, yeah, well, my friend Johnny has that, and you say, well, Johnny's parents have more money than we do. Again, that's a statement that doesn't even need to be said. It programs, number one, that we live by way of comparison. See, your kid is already comparing, but they're in an adolescent mind or a children's mind that isn't really fully developed in thinking clearly. And if you as the parent submit and do the same exact thing and add another comparison on top of it, they have more money than us, it teaches them to judge happiness based on money and judge my satisfaction of what I have and lay it up next to what somebody else has. That's not what we do. Instead, if somebody says, Johnny's parents have that, say, well, we as a family value different things, and we put our money here. Because again, it's not helping them see where we don't put our money, and we don't have money, and people have other money. It's helping them see how we structure money and what we value. What Johnny's parents do with their money, that's their business. What we do here, we value X, Y, and Z, and whatever that is inside of your home. Help your kids see we put money here. Help them see, you know what, when daddy gets paid every week, we put some of his money in retirement because someday we're going to retire and be able to hang out with your kids someday, and we want to make sure we have enough money to live free with your children when you have children someday. The idea of helping them see where we put our money, how we use our money, is way better than just throwing out the comparison idea of, well, Johnny's parents have more money than we do, instead of helping them see this is why our resources are structured the way they are. Because the truth of the matter is, you can always make more money. That's what you want them to see. We could go get a different job. We could go do this and make more money. And if you want to do that, and maybe you should do that, definitely do that. But don't allow the trap of your kid comparing your money situation to their friends. Don't allow that trap to entrap you and you do the same thing. Help them see why we structure our money the way we do and what we value as a family. That will teach them a lot more. And if they grow up and value different things, fine. But let's help them see how we got here. But you know what that'll push you to do? That'll push you and your partner or spouse, or if you're single, it'll push you to actually have a structure of what you value. It'll actually push you to decide where do you want your money to go and why does your money go to where it goes. My pastor used to say, if you want to see someone's values, just show me two things, their calendar and their checkbook. See, that shows what we value in our time and in our money, the two most valuable sources in most people's lives that are tangible rather than people. And the idea is, let your kids see your true value systems rather than those negative programming triggers that they have to eventually work their way out of. These statements aren't statements parents use because they want to hurt their kids or they're trying to negatively program their kids, but they are things to throw out of your vocabulary to make sure your kids are set up for success. Now make sure you tune into part 2 where I continue to walk through how to teach your kids about money so they are set up to live financially free lives and be able to fulfill their mission.